uncovering the hidden history of Seneca Village in Central Park. Have you ever wondered about the hidden histories buried beneath the ground of New York City? Central Park, one of the world's most iconic green spaces, was not always the peaceful haven we know today. Before it became a symbol of New York's natural beauty, it was home to a thriving community, Seneca Village. This lost neighborhood, now forgotten by many, was once a vibrant, self-sustaining community of African-American landowners, immigrants, and families. But today, only a few markers and the work of modern-day scholars remain to remind us of the people who once lived there. Let's take a journey back in time to uncover the forgotten story of Seneca Village, a place that was lost to history but not to memory. Seneca Village had its beginnings in 1825, when a group of free African Americans started purchasing land in an area just outside the bustling city of New York. It was a rare opportunity at the time. Free African Americans were allowed to buy property and build homes. As word spread, other African Americans, along with Irish and German immigrants, followed suit. They transformed the land into a small but flourishing community. By the 1830s, Seneca Village had grown to become a vibrant, self-sustaining neighborhood with homes, churches, schools, and even a cemetery. Seneca Village was a place where African Americans could find a sense of freedom and autonomy during a time when they were often marginalized and denied basic rights. It was a community of people who owned land, were educated, and contributed to the economic and cultural life of New York City. In a city that was still deeply connected to the legacy of slavery, Seneca Village was a beacon of hope. The residents of Seneca Village came from diverse backgrounds. While it was primarily home to African Americans, it also became a haven for Irish and German immigrants who had arrived in New York seeking a better life. These immigrants, too, were often excluded from many of the rights and privileges of the time, but in Seneca Village, they were able to create a sense of community with their neighbors. The residents were predominantly middle-class or working-class people who owned homes and land, giving them a sense of stability and self-reliance that was rare for people of color in New York City during this period. Many of the African American residents were free, having either bought their freedom or been born free, and they built a thriving neighborhood in the shadow of Manhattan's rising skyscrapers. The destruction of Seneca Village. By the 1850s, the land that Seneca Village sat on was coveted by the city's elite. The development of Central Park was already in the planning stages, and this green space was seen as a necessity for the growing city. However, the problem was that the park needed to be built where Seneca Village stood. Through the process of eminent domain, the city forced the residents of Seneca Village to sell their property. They were compensated for their homes, but this was little comfort to the displaced families. In 1857, residents were forcibly removed, and Seneca Village was destroyed to make way for Central Park. For the people who had built their lives and their homes in this area, the loss was devastating. The families were forced to leave, their homes demolished, and their community scattered. In a sense, their history was erased from the landscape of New York City. Why is Seneca Village important? Seneca Village is a critical part of New York's history because it sheds light on the complex relationship between African Americans and the city during the 19th century. While Central Park is now a symbol of wealth and leisure, it was once built on the land of a community of African American landowners. The loss of Seneca Village represents a larger pattern of displacement and erasure that many communities of color have faced throughout American history. Seneca Village also offers a glimpse into the struggle for African American rights during a time when slavery was still a reality in much of the United States. It shows that African Americans were not passive victims, but active participants in shaping their own destinies. The residents of Seneca Village were landowners, business people, and community leaders who were taking control of their lives and their futures. Rediscovering Seneca Village. After its destruction, the memory of Seneca Village faded. For decades, it was largely forgotten, buried beneath the development of Central Park. But in the 1990s, historians, archaeologists, and scholars began to uncover the lost story of this once thriving neighborhood. Through research, excavation, and public outreach, they started to bring the history of Seneca Village back into the public consciousness. The Institute for the Exploration of Seneca Village was formed in the 1990s to conduct further research and to shed light on the lives of the people who once called Seneca Village home. Archaeological digs have uncovered artifacts, such as personal items and pieces of architecture, which have helped reconstruct the history of the neighborhood. Today, Seneca Village is more than just a forgotten neighborhood. It is a symbol of the African American struggle for justice and equality in New York City and the broader United States. The rediscovery of Seneca Village has allowed people to reconnect with this important piece of history, to reflect on the experiences of its residents, and to acknowledge the impact of displacement on communities of color. Seneca Village teaches us about the resilience of those who fought for their rights and the importance of preserving and sharing untold stories. It reminds us that history is not just the story of the powerful and the privileged, but also the story of everyday people who created communities, fought for their freedom, and built legacies that continue to shape our world today. Seneca Village may be gone, but its legacy lives on in the hearts of those who uncover its story and in the spirit of those who once called it home. As we walk through Central Park today, we stand on the ground where a thriving community once flourished, and we are reminded of the deep ties that New York City has to both its past and the ongoing struggles for racial justice and equality. The story of Seneca Village is far from forgotten. It is a reminder of how history can be lost, but how it can also be rediscovered, remembered, and honored.